A very warm good morning to you. We want to thank you for joining us on Political Platform this morning. We are in Abuja, wherever you are listening to us. We are glad that you're there to pick up all the reports we have for you this morning. It's been a very, very tough wind blowing against the political walls, and Obasanjo's letter to the president is taking the center stage. The former president did not mince words, and he went all the angles, even including those areas that you would have thought that they should be face-to-face discussions. He indeed emptied everything in an 18-page letter to the president, from the issues of training or having a list of 1,000 persons whose snipers must be trained on how to get eliminated, to the issue bordering on the PDP and the crisis within, and then the corruption the former president says has taken center stage in Nigeria, and that the president is looking on without doing anything. Now, there are two sides to all it. In fact, you will say so many sides to it. Even the coin does not just have two sides. It has edges. And we'll be taking a look at all the sides this morning. We'll look at the messenger. We'll look at the message. And then reactions from Nigerians. And they're good that ASU and the federal government have now gone rounded up at the long-drawn discussion. And the indications are that at least or at worst next week we'll have the universities reopened. As yesterday, the memorandum of understanding was eventually signed. Now, that is one that is will give parents and students in the universities some, I hope this morning, some tidings as we move towards Christmas. But that of the academic staff, of polytechnics is in the limbo. Nothing is coming in from it, as the leadership of ASUP say they have not heard from the federal government, and nothing is coming in to the students and parents whose words are in the polytechnics. So the polytechnics will remain short, as the indications are that no discussion is going on. We just do hope that we can get some report from my name is Okiri Agbonsuremi. Hedo Aniago is on the platform with me this morning. Hedo, welcome.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the platform.
Now let's go to our mailbox, politicalplatform@yahoo.com. Let's see who is talking to us this morning.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I am Ife Nwanwobi.
My name is Chinemerem Ugu. Good morning.
We'll start with this mail titled Mandela's Funeral and a Lesson on Waste, and it's coming from Kennedy from Abuja. It reads, with 5 days' notice, South Africa hosted 100 world leaders. In Nigeria, committees would have been set up to appoint a task force, contracts, and waivers to import cars, renovation of stadium and airport, Ashwebi, repair of roads, and a lot more would have been awarded. It's time we assess ourselves and decide our future. God have mercy on Nigeria.
And moving over to the matter arising, which is the Obasanjo's letter, Oladipo Abiodun writes us from Ikeja in Lagos State, and he says, what an interesting time we live in. I was yet to finish reading all the tributes written and spoken about Mandela by different writers and speakers when this shocking letter arrived. Without doubt, Obasanjo hit the eagle's eye, but I'm not sure the vessel is honorable enough for the message to command the attention it deserves because of Obasanjo's antecedent. Obasanjo was as guilty as Mr. President at the tail end of his administration too. I will, however, plead with Mr. President to listen to him because this is the view of most non-partisan, well-meaning Nigerians. President Jonathan should please tread softly and be wary of those sycophants prodding him.
Still on Obasanjo's letter to the president, Martins Chedozie Ugu in Enugu titles this mail Accusation and Counter-Accusation. The mail reads, Chief Olusegun Aremu Matthew Obasanjo is an elder statesman, respected both in Nigeria and across Africa. I am delighted to read a letter the former president sent to President Jonathan questioning his integrity for planning to run for a second term. Has that become a crime or a show of distrust? How about the aborted third-term plan of the ex-president, which he still denies till today? If Bamanga Tukur is playing the script from his paymaster, the president, I want to know whose scripts were Audubwe, Maurice Iwu, Barnabas Gamade, and co. played during Obasanjo's regime. I am surprised that a letter written by a highly placed elder statesman like Obasanjo was leaked. Maybe he wants Nigerians to look at him as a saint. God help Nigeria.
How sincere is OBJ's letter, says Emmanuel Udeha, who writes us from Abuja. He goes on to say, after carefully going through the letter written by Obasanjo to our president, I questioned his sincerity of purpose, looking at the personalities he mentioned as those not happy with President Goodluck's government. They are men with questionable characters, and I will advise the president to act without fear or favor and deal with all the corrupt leaders, both past and present, as it is clear to all that Goodluck is battling with monsters who pretend to be his friends. This is a clear fallout, and President Jonathan should be a man for once and tackle the corruption in the land.
Okay, just one more mail on Obasanjo's letter to Mr. President. Obi in Abuja writes, and his mail reads, the letter from Obasanjo to President Jonathan is a complicated one. Much as he owes it to Jonathan to advise him, he shouldn't have allowed such a letter to get to the public. I think that President Jonathan should try and honor any agreement he had with anybody and group of persons to maintain his respect and integrity. God bless Nigeria.
And away from Obasanjo's letter to the president, Henry Ora from Jos says, finally, federal government and ASU signs an agreement. He says, alas, yesterday, ASU and the federal government signed an agreement as a panacea of calling off its long protracted industrial action. This is a good move, I must say. But why didn't the federal government sign the agreement earlier on until now? The federal government must always consider the interest of those who put them there and not their own interest. As for ASU, the ball is in their court, since government has met 3 of its demands. They have fought a good fight till the end. God bless Nigeria.
Still on the MOU signed between the federal government and ASU, Comrade Monday Ame in Abuja says, it is gratifying that the federal government and ASU have finally signed a memorandum of understanding, which is aimed at ending the about 6-month-old strike. I wish to appeal to both parties to ensure that this time around the agreement is implemented to the letter. God bless Nigeria.
And this is where we draw the curtains on this segment. So keep writing us with your name and where you're writing us from on politicalplatform@yahoo.com.
Thank you very much for writing in, and keep your mails coming. Politicalplatform@yahoo.com, and we're always delighted, as usual, to share those your mails, and particularly when they come with advice and recommendations or suggestions on how things can be better. And when you talk about advice, recommendations, that is the content of Obasanjo's letter. And he's telling the president in so many ways to do things in the way that he believes is much more correct, and that the president must take a step away from the track that he is in and begin to move forward in the direction that Nigeria will not be heading for the rocks, as Obasanjo put it, as it is we are on the brink. Now, it is a question of the integrity of Mr. President. If you take a look at the letters that have come in, it is one of those ones almost represent everybody's interest. Let Nigeria be put on the table.
I can tell you, Hira, when I saw that letter yesterday, my first reaction was not to even react to it, because we have passed through this route before. Because if you recall, when Obasanjo left power as military leader, he took on the likes of Babangida, the likes of Buhari, and so many others. And we thought he had actually repented. But when he came on board, we saw that that was just playing to the gallery. But before that, for me, I am much more interested in those who actually talk because of Nigeria. To the best of my knowledge, that Obasanjo's letter is about him and his boys and not about Nigeria. If you look at if you remember the letter we read this morning, written in by Kennedy from Abuja, was talking about, say, within 5 days, with 5 days notice, South Africa hosted 100 leaders in Nigeria, and that committees were not set up, and that there were no renovations, and cars or so many whatever it is were not bought. That to me is genuine advice to the leadership, that look, we can do it this way. But I think if you ask me, this Obasanjo issue is enough for us to occupy us for the day, to take a look at the issue one after the other, and for us to understand whether indeed Obasanjo is talking about Nigeria, or Obasanjo is talking because at the moment neither him nor his men are in charge of the PDP. It is all about 2015. Maybe as we progress, we begin to look at it one after the other, point by point.
Yes, and as we go ahead, Uju Eje is just joining us. Uju, welcome to Political Platform.
Thank you, Hiri.
Now, I'm going to advise that just as Nigerians debate the issue of the letter, we look at it from two broad angles. One is the obvious, and then the other are the contentious. Now, the obvious is they are very clear to Nigerians. We don't really need to emphasize so much about it. And that is where many Nigerians are treading. And that is looking at Obasanjo as a thief himself, looking at Obasanjo as one man who was not honorable himself. They look at Obasanjo as one man who also wanted a third term. They say Obasanjo encouraged corruption. They mention those sudden big men in Nigeria today who have become multi-billionaires that were the creation of Obasanjo. They talk about the problems that Obasanjo even created for Nigeria, that even Jonathan himself is an Obasanjo creation, and that if without Obasanjo, good Lord Jonathan would not have gotten to the center stage. The man was just contented being governor of Bayelsa State. They pulled him up to come and become vice president. That was what started it. So if you want to look at the obvious, these are obvious. These are things that these are things that people already are aware about. That in fact, the corruption, if you look at all the multinational companies that came here to do business, that every day we are hearing that even some companies have been found guilty outside of Nigeria because the Obasanjo helped them to put their hands in our teeth. These are the obvious. Then the contentious. I have advised that we should not dwell too much on these obvious. These are things that we are all familiar with. But the ones that we should actually dwell on, and I believe that we should have our attention on, is the message from Obasanjo. Is he correct? Is it a matter of somebody who is drunk saying the truth? Is it a matter of you just have to leave the messenger and take the message? Is the country really on the brink? Do we have crisis in PDP? Did Jonathan promise through Obasanjo to his political gladiators in PDP that he will run a single tenure? All the issues he has raised. So is he training snipers who would get down 1,000 people on a list that he has trained? Obasanjo need to also give us the details of that, because that's a very, very serious one. We don't want to go back to the days of Abacha when persons were disappearing in Nigeria. We don't know what happened to them. And now he was there. He understands, and the accusations were also there against Obasanjo in those days, that certain murders were actually state murders. People point to the Harry Marshals of this world. They point to Bola Ige. They point to so many things that happened around. People were thinking that Obasanjo ought to know. But unfortunately, these are all things that are in conjecture, that Obasanjo himself understands the use of state power. These are the issues that we should really be focusing attention on. And because if they are found to be like correct or true, or observations that come from the bad messenger, but very good observations and good message, then we must not take it out of it and allow the Obasanjo image to blur our sense of judgment, our sense of appreciation of what he has just brought out. And Amechi Anakwe is just joining us. Amechi, welcome to Political Platform.
Thank you very much, Ohiria.
I can tell you, Ohiria, it is always very, very sweet to the ear to listen to this kind of a letter, possibly read it and listen to this kind of talk. The greatest country today in
maybe I'll just stop you. Just hold on. Let's quickly link up with Mustafa Mohammed. You recall that yesterday we were supposed to talk with him on the issue of the Pan-African Road. Mustafa Mohammed, I hope we can get to talk to you. Now, are you there?
The former capital of Cote d'Ivoire. Good morning, Political Platform.
Good morning, and we are happy that to get you yesterday. We tried to reach you. Unfortunately, we couldn't. Now, tell us, what is this highway all about, and what is the role of our government of Nigeria and then the Ministry of Works?
The Nigerian government is actually one of the 5 governments who are part of the West African dual carriage corridor, which begins from Lagos, goes through Benin Republic, Togo, Ghana, then it comes to Cote d'Ivoire, Abidjan. It means that there's going to be a road authority that will manage the 6-lane highway that passes between the 5 countries, a length of each one of them is going to be 1,077, and it means a free movement of people and goods between these countries with a proposed Lagos Abidjan Road Authority that supersede the authorities of all countries when passed by the various national assemblies to manage the road.
Now, Mustafa, you are in Dakar, or where are you?
Yamoussoukro.
You are in Yamoussoukro. You are in Cote d'Ivoire. Now, how much? What's the percentage of the completion of this road, and what stage is it now?
The highlight of what took place here 2 days ago was that the committee of experts set up by the steering committee of Ministry of Finance, Work and Judiciary of 5 countries was that the experts submitted the report to these ministers. One chairman of the steering committee is our own Minister of Work, Mike Onolemene, on the legal framework, the proposed financial framework, and how to set up finances to construct this road. And some of the financiers that have been identified include the African Development Bank, the Arab Economic Development Bank, the Islamic Development Bank, among others, and then Wall Street. Among them, they are expected to put forward. But of course, the other option is this private-public partnership, in which for people who will come in, private investors to put their money, operate, and transfer over the years. Now, this kind of states, out of them are expected to meet in Addis in January 2014 to look at the report and make various endorsements.
All right, thank you very much, Mustafa Mohammed, and in Yamoussoukro, telling us about the efforts by West African leaders and technocrats and experts to bridge the gap in transportation in the movement by creating a Trans-Africa road that is currently being on the drawing board, and Nigeria is playing a major role in making sure that you can move from Nigeria across West Africa without any problem on the road.
That's
Well,
a straight, free road, just dual carriage, like Mustafa mentioned.
Thank you very much for remaining with us on the platform. Now let's go zoom straight. We have laid the foundation for you. We have told you that there are two sides to all the coin. In fact, that even the coin has the sides, so we may also be talking about it. And Yedu Ajangu was on the floor before we went to the market.
Yes, I was saying that the greatest country in the world today is the United States of America. But you ask, what are those things that makes America great? At the moment, America has put up all its satellites in search of Edward Snowden. And what did he do? He decided to begin to leak some of those things that makes America great. If you go to the court and you are able to prove, even if you have come to somebody's house and you steal everything he has, and you are able to establish that you have a mental case, what they do is that the judge, because of that mental case, will refer you to the hospital and they will not sentence you. The reason is because at that moment you are not qualified to begin to have a proper judgment. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, a former president who is very, very strong, one would expect that he should be able to go to Jonathan, lay these issues bare, discuss it properly. If at all any other person is writing something like this as dirty as it is, you begin to ask. I'm scared of our country, that our leaders can always throw caution to the wind because there's an election ahead of us.
Because
and I think that's what we must look at.
Self-interest, always.
Well, that was the first thing that went through my mind when I heard of that letter. I said I expected Obasanjo to have approached Jonathan as friends, as associates, as compatriots, until I went through that letter. I spent time yesterday night reading the lines of that letter, and I discovered that Obasanjo said that he met President Jonathan severally and raised these same issues. He also said that he wrote to him 4 times on 4 different occasions, reminding him of these issues, and on those 4 occasions he was not even dignified with a reply to that. And I felt maybe the old man felt that he needed to go public with this issue, because if you look at the title of that letter, it is that before it is too late, and it is about Nigeria. Yes, I know Obasanjo, I know his antecedents. He may not be the angel that we want to spread the message.
The Messiah, he said he was not.
Let's leave the messenger and look at the message, especially when it concerns the corporate existence of Nigeria. And I felt Obasanjo was talking Nigeria, the possible disintegration of Nigeria, and that appears to be his pain on that letter. For instance, he said he made allusion to the fact that the setting up of moves to, of course, do the national conference or just to dismember Nigeria, that the president has been ethnic in approach, in his action, and is promoting diversity even within the military. For me, these are very heavy issues that will attract comments from every other person.
I was worried. I took my time to take a look at every line of that letter yesterday, 18 pages, and by the time you get to the 18th page, you probably will be a very, very angry Nigerian, very, very confused, angry over so many things. Now, why would Obasanjo, what drove him to the frustration? Because I could see the frustration dripping, and I can see that he also says so that it does appear that our president is no more one person he can rely on to talk to. The confidence has gone down, and that I actually wonder whether the person of the caliber of Obasanjo can go that level in frustration, that a man who is president of Nigeria, he cannot go straight there. I read in between the lines. He said he has, between him and the president has acknowledged that he is the third most important person to him after God and his parents. Now, he believed that as the third most important person to him, I would have thought that Obasanjo would really will continue to keep these things in the wrap and make sure that he puts him down. Now, the level of frustration, I wouldn't know whether to really blame Obasanjo. He says that everything he has said, he has broken. Every promise he has made, he has broken. He cited instances, named names, he mentioned places up to Benue State where there was a meeting, up to Aso Villa, where at the banquet hall where there was a meeting, which actually set the tone for what everybody now have heard about the so-called agreement. That meeting was held, and it was on the basis of the promise that he gave that he himself made a pronouncement. You remember during one of the campaigns that indeed the PDP convention that this president is going to run one time. But every indication, everything around the president suggests that he's going to throw away those promises. And he talks about integrity. Were this enough to have driven the former president into this corner of frustration and anger, that he could not hold himself back to say, let me make this man, lock the door and box him, if that would bring him back on track? Which is why you want to look at those who are criticizing that as an elder statesman, they should not go to Eagle Square naked and be dancing. It doesn't portend any good for Nigeria. But Obasanjo believes that unless he says this is the only way, and that's why I'm questioning. I am questioning his own level of frustration, whether indeed it is his own interest is pursuing in the entire matter, and he's just raising the sentiments of Nigerians, using his own frustration in getting into the ball that is making him to go out the level he has gone now.
Ohiria, personally, I'm at a loss as to what to believe in this whole scenario. But knowing an Obasanjo, I find it very, very difficult to believe that if he wants to have his way, he cannot have it, because we have seen him operate in the past. If he wanted to really get the attention of President Jonathan, I believe that he knows exactly how to do so. They are friends. They have been friends. Even if they have differences now, they know how to get to each other. When most of these agreements were reached, no Nigerian, the common man was not there with them. They knew how they got even up to Benue State. And as such, I believe that he knows how he can force him to a table for them to really dialogue. I think that these allegations are very, very, very grave. And like you said, when old men begin to dance naked at the Eagle Square, it's a very ugly sight.
Now, I think the other aspect to look at it might be very minor, very, very minor. Because about last week, I was told by a very prominent member of the opposition that Obasanjo has written a letter to the president. We didn't have the content. How did this letter leak out? Because it's a very, very significant. Yes. It was a private letter that was written to Mr. President, and it should probably have been kept private. And
at least for a while.
And the president's men are already saying that the leakage was. They have actually described the attitude of the president as reckless, and that it is one unbecoming of a leader, of a true leader who wants to really have the interests of Nigeria at heart. Of course, Nigerians are entitled to know what Obasanjo is saying. If he had addressed the press, that's a different matter. But if he puts it in a writing, and at the level of the presidency, and at the level of the caliber of Obasanjo, then we should probably have stayed like 2-3 years before we could get the content of this letter, so that they can call themselves together and then sort themselves out without throwing all this on the face of Nigerians like me, who is very, very confused about
and the content of that letter can even cause more agitation in the politics.
Ohira, I don't know what people are talking about leakage. The letter was not leaked. The letter was meant for the public. If you think that the letter was just to the president, you may be surprised that that letter you're talking about has not even reached the president. The Obasanjo wanted to write members of the public. If you go to most of our higher institutions, go and pick some of their handouts. They are not as voluminous as this letter from Obasanjo. This letter is qualified to be called Obasanjo 101 because if you take a look at it, it deals with a lot of issues. Look at a lot of the sentiments that a former president has raised. We were just talking about Mandela. A Mandela will not do this kind of thing. It is sweet. It may be sweet to the ear. Because I was asking some lawmakers yesterday when they were debating the issue of Sanusi. They said Sanusi is very, very credible, that anything coming from him is authentic. When Sanusi raised the issue of $49.9 billion unremitted funds. And I asked them, less than 2 years ago, the same Sanusi said that the National Assembly is taking 25% of our national budget. The National Assembly said, no, this man is not an economist, that he's only specialized in Islamic studies, and that he's not capable of speaking. But this time around, the same people who dismissed Sanusi because it touched them, and now Sanusi is talking about another person, they say Sanusi is the most authentic person on earth. We must begin to say, I recall while growing up, they say elders don't lie. But I have discovered, becoming a grown person, that elders don't only lie, they manufacture it in such a way that it suits their own intentions.
And they manipulate with lies.
Really, I would like the presidency to react to this.
The presidency has
of course, the presidency has acknowledged. They just said
it's reckless.
They has acknowledged that they have this letter that is with the president, yes. And the initial reaction was attacking the personality of Obasanjo. For the interest of Nigeria, they need to quickly. They promise that the appropriate time should be now to respond to issue point by point.
Particularly those ones that concerns the ordinary people, the economy, the way the money is being run from the NNPC that Obasanjo also mentioned, that the fraud is
monumental.
It's monumental.
And those that border on the corporate unity and existence of Nigeria. For me, that is.
I think the president should hasten. Now it's a public knowledge. He should hasten to respond to every item raised by the
blow by blow,
so that we do not keep anybody in the dark. Now the president cannot say it's a private letter. It is no more a private letter. It's between him and the Nigerian people. Obasanjo should just be kept aside, and the president's men should sit down and respond articulately to all the issues, so that we begin to understand what is happening.
Oyura, you know, if you go into the boxing ring and they say uppercut, you know the effect. Obasanjo has given President Jonathan an uppercut. So it's up to him to either allow that knockout or to be able to respond so that the whistle will not be blown against him.
And we must end it up here. Political Platform will return tomorrow, and when we do, we have more for you on the reports and all the issues raised here. And we are expecting your mails. Politicalplatform@yahoo.com. Okiria Agbonsuremi here. Do have a wonderful day.